Hello, everyone. In this session, we want to talk about Windows Azure Infrastructure as a Service, known as IAAS. Now, what is Infrastructure as a Service? Let us first take a look at the traditional data center in an organization. The data center in an organization offers for the company computing services, servers, which are maintained by IT admins, storage, which is used to store the data, networking, where the client machine will be able to connect to the network and data be distributed and secured throughout the office. So that is the traditional data center that you might have within your organization. Now, in this traditional data center, you have different phases, different needs. Let us take a look at the purchase cycle for the computing services within the traditional data center. You have pricing. In my organization, when I need to purchase a server, a client machine, or when I need to purchase parts to repair machines, when I need to purchase software, the first thing that I have to do is to find out the price of the hardware or the software, find out where I will be able to purchase that software or hardware. And then I have to submit what we call a requisition form to my local finance section or purchasing section. My purchasing section then had to submit to central purchasing the requisition form or order. Central purchasing then has to give my local purchasing department the go ahead to actually purchase the software or hardware. And then that hardware or software has to be shipped or brought back to the company. Then there's phase 2. When the software or hardware arrives, the admin staff will have to install that software and hardware. And they also have to maintain the software and hardware. All of that is a cost to the company. Now let's turn our attention to offering those same services through the cloud. And by the cloud, we mean public infrastructure cloud computing provided as a service. There are many companies out there that provide cloud computing as a service. Microsoft is not the only company that provides cloud computing, but Microsoft's service is referred to as Infrastructure as a Service, IAAS. And all of the things that we talked about before, the provision of servers, of client machines, of storage, of computing needs, the billing of servers, the provision of data, the security of data, all of that is done in the cloud. And we refer to that as cloud computing. And we want to take a look and look and compare the services offered by the cloud as versus the services offered in a traditional data center. Now, how does this cloud service work? Let's say, for example, that I needed a Server 2012 machine, or I needed a client machine, or I needed storage. What you would have to do is go to Microsoft's website. You would have to subscribe, that is, pay for a subscription for the service that you need. Now, you are only going to be paying for what you utilize. And my example, let me come back to a server. If I purchase a subscription for different types of machines, I'm only going to be paying for what I use. And when I say that, I mean I'm only going to be paying for the storage that I have used. I'm only going to be paying for the networking, the traffic that goes on my client machine. I'm only going to be paying for storage space on my machine. Compare that to perhaps your water meter. You are charged for the water that you use, and you pay that bill every month. That's going to be the same thing that's going to happen with cloud computing. You're only going to have to pay for the service that you use. In addition to that, you are then able to create your own virtual servers, create your networks and storage as you require them with the click of a mouse, just by logging on to the browser, following the steps, and there are not many steps, and creating what you need. Now we're going to compare the traditional data storage with the service as a cloud. And let's look at different activities. Purchasing was one we talked about before. Let us compare the public cloud computing with the internal data center. With public cloud computing for purchasing department, you can create virtual servers, you create your storage, networking, but you do all of this simply by logging on to your browser and a few mouse clicks. If you were dealing with purchasing of hardware and you were dealing with the internal data center, you have to go through the whole long thing of submitting a requisition, submitting a purchase order, buying IT racks for your network switches for networking, installing the hardware, maintaining the hardware, as versus simply going to your browser and selecting what you want. Then there is a time for this service to be up and running. With the public cloud computing, that's going to take you several minutes. But with internal data center, the purchasing, the installing, the configuring, that's going to take you several weeks. Then we come to the cost. For the public cloud computing, you have pay as you go. In other words, you are only going to be paying for what you use. Whereas with the internal data center, you probably, if you are purchasing a lot of equipment, you probably have to take out a loan. You have to pay capital expense and entire cost borne upfront, or maybe, like I said, you got a loan from the bank and you're paying that over several years. And then there's the hardware maintenance. And this is one that I really like. For the public cloud computing, you have no responsibility as the IT person. All the responsibility is borne by the provider, the cloud provider, who provides you the service. And they in turn will give you a service license. Then compare that with your internal data center, where the admin will maintain your hardware and maintain your software. And that comes with a cost because obviously you have to pay your admin staff. We now want to take a look at the Windows Azure data center. And we want to actually create a virtual machine on Windows Azure. We are now on the website of Microsoft Azure. Remember that you will need to get a subscription, or you can have 1 month free of this Microsoft Azure service. You simply need to log on to the Azure site and create a free subscription for 1 month. Now, as you can see, I already have some servers created here. We're going to go to the left side of the screen under the menu section, and we're going to click on virtual machines because we want to create a server 2012 R2 machine. You can see that I already have one machine created here. So I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to click on the plus sign here by add. And I'm going to scroll down a bit because I want to select Windows Server here. So I'm going to click on Windows Server. And on my right hand side, I want to select the server Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. So I'm going to click on that. And at this screen, I simply want to click on Create. And here on the Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center, let's read what it says. It says, at the heart of the Microsoft Cloud Operating System vision, Windows Server 2012 R2 brings Microsoft's experience delivering global scale cloud services into your infrastructure. The virtual machine offers enterprise-class performance, flexibility for your applications, and excellent economics for your data center and hybrid cloud environment. This image includes Windows Server 2012 R2 updates, and then you have your legal terms. So we can just go ahead and click on Create here. Now we need to fill in some information. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see Basic Configure. You're configuring basic settings here. Then you will configure the size of the machine that you want. Then you look at the settings, and then you will get the summary. Let's begin by typing the name of the virtual server that we're creating. And we're going to call it Virtual Server 4. So you want to click. Press enter. Next, we want to look and choose the type of virtual disk we want. So you can click the down arrow here and you will see that you can choose from a hard disk or a solid state disk. And we're going to choose the solid state SSD. So we want to click on the top option here. And then we need to put a username. So we're going to click in the username box. We're going to type Antigua. And let's go back and put that as a capital A and enter. Right, we need to put in the password that we need. And you can see I have that password in already for you. So I'm going to click in the confirm password box. And that password is in also. You can look at your lab notes for the password that I've used there. And I want you to pay careful attention here because you're going to be doing this video as one of your lab exercises for Microsoft Azure. When we have filled in the name, the type of disk we need, the username, and the password, you need to create a resource group. So we want to click in the resource group box. And we're going to call the group class new group. And hit enter. We want to scroll down a little bit more so we can fill in some more information here on the basics. So we're going to click on the down arrow here to the right, and you're going to see me click it 4 times. 2, 3, 4. And at this point, we have a question here. Already have a Windows Server license? And we're actually going to say yes. So we're going to click on yes. And then we need to confirm that we do have an eligible license. So we're going to click in the box, in the confirm box. We're going to click a second time. I confirm I have a Windows Server license. I'm going to click a second time. And then I'm going to click OK to complete the basics setting for configuring the basic settings. On the screen now, we want to choose the size of the virtual machine. And you have 3 different sizes, and you can see the drop down under the sizes. 2 core, 7 gigabytes, 4 data disks. We want to choose the one in the middle. So we're going to click on DS2 V2 standard and then click on select. Now at the settings here for the configure optional features, which is this page here, you get a chance to create storage, new storage, storage account, network, subnet, public IP address. We're going to accept the defaults here and click on OK. And you can see here we're at the page where it says validation passed. And all the settings that we chose, you can review them here. Then we want to click on OK. At this point, the machine will begin the deployment. And you can see here deploying Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. To continue, we actually want to click on this section. So you put your mouse and you click on deploying Windows Server. And you can see here your machine that we deployed. The name was Virtual Server 4. Operating system is Windows. It gave you the location. It gives you the IP address. So all we need to do is to connect to it now. So we're going to go to the top left here and we're going to click on connect. That is going to create a remote desktop file. And this is a file that you will need to click on to start the remote desktop virtual 2012 R2 server that you just created. We're just going to say save the file. We're going to click OK on save the file. On the remote desktop connection dialog box here, we want to click on yes. And we are connected to the virtual machine that we created. Now, for your lab exercise, you're going to actually have to create the virtual machine. Please refer to your lab notes for instructions. This is the end of the session, and I want to thank you for listening.